Route 66. Been on some of that. G'day trendsetters, Greg here from Fishplate Films, and welcome to our first ever decoder install, full install, on the BNSF Bird with Subdivision. And today we're going to be installing a Tsunami GN1000, one of these, into a MTH SD70ACe. Now, a lot of people seem to think this is a bit of drama. If you want to see it done, you can go to my good friends in Germany, Matthias, Rarwer, R-A-R-W-E-R. He does lots of Tsunami installs, and he's done quite a few in MTHs. And today I'm going to want to show you the way I do it, very similar to Matthias's, but the lighting will be a tiny bit different because the models have changed slightly over the years. So we're going to do a quick review on the old girl first. Now, I don't do reviews normally because I'm a rather harsh critic, and I think a lot of things in the industry have fallen way behind, especially mechanical and stuff like that. All the detailing is very nice, but I think we're forgetting about what makes the things tick. So anyway, but we'll be doing a quick review on the MTH, and we'll be getting into it. So let's go. Right, now, lots been said on the MTH detail, and because I don't live in the States, I don't know the Loco specific details, but there are a lot of nice little features on this. All the grills are see-through. They've actually put some sort of red gauze behind the air intakes, well, not the air intakes, rad air intakes here, and all behind here as well, which was quite a nice little touch. Wire grab irons everywhere, wire handrails, which are very nice. Even the vents up here for the dynamic brakes, and behind there, they're see-through as well. What I do like is the see-through exhaust, and that helps the heat from the decoder become expelled through the top. Now, as you probably know, I drill out all my exhausts on my Katos and my Atlases, and that really does help let the heat escape out of the engine. It's really cool, actually. You can feel a little blast of hot air coming out if you put your cheek right next to the exhaust. It's pretty trendy, trendsetters. And that gets the convection going and really gets the hot air out of the locomotive and gets rid of the decoder, because the decoders do get quite hot because they are an amplifier, trendsetters, as well. So the details all very nice. I do like there's actually little mirrors and that there. I wish Kato did that, but Kato were leaders from many years ago, and they've sort of, you know, just kept their standard, and of course their running gear is perfect, but they need to up their detail a little bit. But anyway, nice little things like that. See-through fans, look at that there. Actually, if you blow on the fans spin around, but you know, whoop-de-doo-da-da, you're not going to do that. Pros and cons to having see-through fans. Yes, they're see-through fans, but you can see the wiring and everything and the decoder in there, so, you know, horses for courses. So I'm not going to dwell too much on the body because there's been lots of reviews done by that. For me, it's what's inside that ticks, and there's no point in having a beautifully detailed model if it runs like a bag of poo. So with that being said, we'll get rid of that, and we'll get into the decoder install. There's a couple of ways you can do it. One is you leave this board in, and you get yourself a wrap decoder like the TSU 1000s, or I saw someone the other day put a TCS WOW decoder in one of these, and you have to wire the motor control, the motor wires and all that directly to the motor, and then for your lighting, which is the only problem in the MTH putting a different decoder in, is the lighting. You have to go to these specific tabs here. You've got one for the ditch lights, there's a common for the ditch lights here, and then you've got your function for the ditch lights here. So they come out of your little wrap decoder, and you can do it that way. So that's probably one of the easiest ways to put a non-MTH decoder in a MTH locomotive. And you still have to use, you keep this, well, what do you say, a huge board in there, and you can do it. Now, so I'm putting in a GN1000, the standard for a Thurn Genesis, and with these decoders, you have to wire a wire, or solder a wire into the +14 bus. So that gives you your common positive. Remember, we switch the negatives on most decoders, and then all your functions come out of function 5, function 6 are negatives. Right. So that's fine in our MTH logo for the rear light. That's fine because it's only one LED. So instead of using the positive wire, you just swap the two wires over on the LED. It's fine for the number board lights because they have two wires coming out of them. So instead of using the positive to the function, you go the negative to the function. The problem is with the ditch light assembly. And I'll draw you a little diagram of what that's like, and we'll have a look at that. While I remember, here is a diagram of the little circuit board for the ditch lights and the headlight. So we have our common negative, which should be a common positive, and our three wires going off to the function. So if this was a common positive, we'd be right. They could go to the common 14.4 volt bus on our GN decoder, and then they could go to, you know, function, those two could go to function 5 or 5 and 6 if you wanted them flashing, and of course that one goes to the headlight. But we can't do it that way because MTH are being naughty. Now, if you put the wrap decoders in and plug it into that board, I'm pretty sure that you can have separate ditch lights and it all works properly. But as I said, I'm not a fan of the wrap decoder, so I'm going the hard route, or route, as we say. Now, the first thing you have to do is to remove, obviously, the dummy decoder, and along with it, this plastic plate. And once you've done that, you can retrieve the wires. Here, I've cut them off. I've cut them off the actual dummy plug that has a big socket. There's a socket that plugs into here. I've cut that off because all the wires go back to that main socket. So because we're using a board decoder, we have to solder all that. So we've got 4 wires from the back there. That's our 2 from our trucks for our power and 2 for our backup light. So just sort of get them out the way there. And then we've got the front wires here. We'll go through them in a minute when we get to there. Now we've got this little plastic cover here. Now that works really well if you get your GM1000, turn it upside down. Now remember, when you turn it upside down, trendsetters, make sure you mark what terminals do what, because they're on the right side. Well, we're going to turn it upside down so it sits flat in this little plastic doobie. Now, there's 2 little raised clips here for the dummy board. You've got to slice them off nice and flush with a little knife or little nippers. And also, you've got your motor wire here, which is this little yellow plaited thing. You want it to come up in these 2 little areas here where the tabs are. So if you line the board up, and I've drilled a hole here, so the cables will sit underneath this and pop up right where you want them, so it's nice and neat. Now, here is the decoder sitting in the plastic frame there. Now, we've drilled our hole for our motor cable to come up through here. And what I've also done is, because this decoder is upside down, I'm a bit concerned about the chip getting enough cooling. So, where are we? Here we go. Here's our chip at the back here, and these little buggers get very, very hot. Now, normally they would sit like this way, so the heat can rise up out of them. This is a problem. I may have to, change this around later on, but this will be a wait and see thing to see whether, because it will be mounted this way, whether there will be enough heat dissipation from the air travelling up through there and through the decoder to see whether it will be a problem or not, because they do get quite warm. Remember, these decoders are an amplifier as well, so they're doing an awful lot of work. They're confined in this small space. Now, trendsetters, before you install your decoder, you must remember to solder your wire on to the plus 14 bus, because these decoders are made for the Athern bulbs that last about an hour. So if you want a LED drive, you need a 14 volt bus. You still need resistors, but the normal lighting outputs out of the GN decoders are not strong enough to power an LED. So you need a 14 volt bus, and that's this wire here. Now, don't get confused like I did once. There's a tiny little hole here you've got to solder it onto. It's up near the capacitors. There's another hole down here, trendsetters, which I soldered to once, just assuming, on one of my Atlas-8s. And that's actually an earthing grid or earthing connector. So you don't need to worry about that. You won't get any joy if you connect to the earth. So make sure it's got plus 14 written there. So solder wire onto that, and that's our 14 volt bus, and that's where all our positive commons will be coming to. Just remember, we're switching the negative, which is the problem with MTH. Why do you do it, MTH? More people will buy your stuff if you make it easier for them to use. Now, to get a separately operating headlight, because I'm not going to try and cut the little circuit board that's got the ditch lights and the headlight SMD LEDs on it, I would just destroy it. So I've mounted a little LED here, a 3mm LED, just glued it on, drilled a little hole and glued it onto the clear plastic tube, light tube, that's what I'm trying to say, that goes to the headlight. And it's okay, it's not as bright as what it originally was, I don't think, but at least I'll be able to turn the headlight on and off. So and then I'll just run a wire up through here. Now, I thought that was relatively easy. I had to drill out the front to get the LED through. But of course, and this isn't MTH's problem, this is, you know, my problem. There is a little black board here. You can see that little thing that I've cut out there. I won't bother going in too close. That stops any light bleed from the ditch lights coming up into the cab, whatever. Well, that goes right up to the top, and that would cut the wires. So I'd have, for the headlight that I've put in. So I had to take that apart and cut that as well. Right. Well, the body's back on, albeit temporarily, and I've got a tiny little bit of light bleed through here, which I think I'm just going to live with because I forgot to paint the LED black when I installed it in the nose in here. But anyway, let's have a look. Headlight, it could be a little bit brighter, but it's not too bad. And the ditch lights, oops, number board lights, there we go, and ditch lights. The ditch lights actually could be brighter, and I haven't messed with them. They're exactly the same. Although I did put a 1K resistor in instead of 560. I'm just worried about burning out the SMD LEDs, but I've had a look and they suggest the same resistor values as a normal 3mm LED, but I don't want to have to replace them. So the difference in brightness between 1K ohm and about 680 ohm resistor isn't that much. So with all the trouble I've had pulling this thing apart, I do not want to have to come back in and replace SMD LEDs. I can't work on them. They're too small for me, trendsetters. I give up. I know when I'm beat, and I cannot work on SMD LEDs. That's why I had to frig around and put a 3mm LED in here. I just cannot work on them with the vision that I have. I have no depth perception. It's quite difficult for me to do what I do. Anyway, so this is small enough. Anyway, okay, enough of that. We'll start him. The way our speakers are okay, I wouldn't rave about them. They sound the same as anything else, I think. I don't know. There's two 28mm ones in there. They're okay. Be interesting to compare them with something else. It's all to do with how you tune them, I think. I'm running this at the moment at about 120 volume out of 255. I haven't turned the bell down yet. Nice horn. Whoops, that's on. I haven't done any tuning on it yet. It does run very nice slowly. So, trendsetters, the truth is going to be in whether this thing is reliable. I don't care how pretty they are, to a degree. You can always go and buy super detailing stuff for your locomotives. You can't go and buy better drive systems, or not easily anyway. So it runs very smooth at the moment. Will it be reliable? We'll have to wait and see. Will the decoder burn up because it's upside down? I think it will. So watch this space. I don't think it's going to run for that long with the decoder upside down. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but those little ICs are getting extremely hot just sitting there because they should be the other way up so the heat can go off them. But they're sitting upside down, the heat's trapped underneath the board. And unfortunately with those capacitors you can't turn, where am I? You can't turn this board around the other way unless you take the whole weight out and machine it. So, as I said before, Matthias, you did a great job putting yours. You probably have a lot more patience than what I do. And it's just a big job. Would I do it again? I would have to get an MTH locomotive at a ridiculously cheap price to stuff around like this. The next one would be a lot easier though. I'd know what wires to cut, what length and all that sort of thing. Putting the decoder in's easy. Just cut all the wires off the plugs, and you get your 4 wires for your trucks and speakers, and that's easy. And if you don't want the ditch lights on separate to your headlight, you could do this in probably an hour and a half. It'd be no more difficult than putting something in a Kato or in the Fern or something like that. But if you want these ditch lights to come on separate with the headlight, then it's a whole new world, trendsetters. And Matthias, if you can cut this circuit board and get it working, you should be a surgeon, not a model railroader. So there you go. But anyway, it's going up the shed now, and I will run it for a few weeks, and maybe a month or two, and I will get back to you. Where are we? I will get back to you. I'm in a new position, in a new workshop, trendsetter, so it's not quite the old office. So we'll see how it goes. We'll run it in for about a couple of weeks, and then we'll put it on some trains, and we'll give it the Birdwood sub treatment, which is running in, 100, 110 degrees Fahrenheit under full load. That's what these locos have to do, trendsetters, on the Birdwood sub. There's no pussyfooting around on this railroad. No, sorry. Right, so thanks for watching, and we'll see a video of this on the rails very, very soon. Toodaloo. Oh, and you know why, Matthias, you know why it's so difficult? Why I had so much problem with this locomotive? Huh? Look at the number. 9199. No. 999. Das ist ein Problem. Anyway, hooray for now.